I'm now delighted to be joined by Grahame McDermott. Grahame previously played hurling for Mealich Aircorp, but now playing his hurling with Amsterdam GA. And for people who weren't aware, obviously, Amsterdam GA won the Leinster Junior Special Hurling Championship last weekend against Longford Slashers and created history by becoming the first European team to ever win a Leinster Championship. Grahame, first off, creating history and everything that's come with it, has it began to sunk in what you achieved last weekend?
At this stage now, yeah, it's well sunken in. We've watched the game. I'd say a few of us have watched it a couple of times now, and you're kind of gone past you could say, the part where you're really enjoying it, but you're actually almost analyzing it as well to kind of see, you know, where we had some missed opportunities. You know, as you mentioned, making history is one thing, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's just me. I think more so. I'd say a few of the lads will be very different, but I'm already looking at the game, thinking, "Oh, I had a chance here, I had a chance there." But that's just personally. I don't think that's everyone. I think someone else will give you a very different answer where they're still over the moon, and it's not that I'm not saying that I'm not now, but I did turn to looking at the game in a different way, probably after watching it the second time.
With everything that came with it, the achievements, I know you had someone on the RT News speaking from the team. You've obviously got a lot of coverage this week. I presume it's just been class, has it?
It is. I mean, it's kind of mad the way it took off. You got quite a lot of attention, as you mentioned, like national news, a lot of newspapers as well, wanting to write articles. So it's been a bit crazy, I have to say. It kind of blew up on Instagram, and you're getting lots of messages, which makes it hard to go back to kind of normal life, day to day stuff, because you're kind of on cloud nine, and then you have to come back and just do day to day work. But no, it's been great, and to be fair, it's nice for the people, especially who run the club and who look after the stuff on the background, because now their hard work is really coming to the fore. And as I mentioned, I think previously, like, we get the limelight because we've won a couple of matches, but there is a lot of people in the background who do the hard work. I mean, we just show up and hit a ball around the field and do our best to win, but there's people who do stuff day to day or on calls on Friday night after work, in meetings and this kind of stuff, and that's the real hard work that goes on behind the scenes.
If I take you back to the game, like dramatic circumstances, your own personal free at the end wins it. What's going through your own mind at the end of that game?
Well, when the free is given, I mean, you're just, maybe you're a little bit nervous to start. You know, you look up at the clock. There's, I think, 30 to 40 seconds left in the game, and then you just have to think about your technique. Just, okay, do the same thing that you do every time. Try not to get distracted. Try not to hear what's going on around you. And just do your best to make sure it goes over. But in the moment itself, I definitely wasn't able to focus as much as I'd like to on a free that's maybe 10 or 15 minutes into the game. You know, the crowd is, and I think rightfully so, trying to put you off, making a bit of noise, you know, and then I mean, I knew as soon as I hit it, it was going over. So then you're just thinking, get back, try to defend this lead, win the first ball, and that's kind of what happens immediately. You know, you do a little bit of a celebration, but then you're straight away thinking, we have to defend this now. We have to get back and make sure we win the puck out.
A day on the pitch after, it's obviously special because you've so many different players from different counties and probably so many different supporters as well.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool, I have to say. Like, we had a lot of people that, you know, I don't know them. They're someone's parents, they're someone's brother, someone's sister, and they're coming up. They want to take a picture. They want to say hi. You know, they want to give you a hug. It's that part of it. You know, it's pretty special, I would say. The fact, like you mentioned, we're all from different counties, different clubs. You know, some of us are rivals within our own counties with our clubs, but that kind of goes to one side because we're we're commonly pushing for the win with Amsterdam, and yeah, that's really cool. And I have to say that the people that do come and support us, when they do, they're almost louder than the home support, even though they're always outnumbered, and yeah, that's pretty class, I have to say.
Were you the only person from Galway?
I wasn't. No, we had Breheny from Tina as well,
Okay.
and we had a few lads last year and years gone by. We used to have a bigger Galway contingent, but for now it was just a couple of us that were there on the day.
Those moments after on the pitch, you mentioned it was special. Do you begin to think about that history and what you achieved then on the pitch, or was it hard just given, I suppose, the way that game was?
No, you don't think about anything. You're just really happy initially. Conman had the ball in his hands. The ball dropped to him after the puck out. It took him 3 attempts to get it up. I think he realised that if he got it, the game was over. So he had a few shaky attempts to try and get the ball up. But once he got up, the ref blew the whistle. He's right in front of me. You're just thinking, just go and give him a hug. And yeah, you're actually fighting for your life then, because everyone comes in, and then you're in the middle of it, getting choked to death. So actually, my initial thought is I need to get out of here, otherwise I'm not going to be able to breathe. And then, to be fair, I noticed a lot of them lads were disappointed. The Longford lads were disappointed. So I went over to make sure that I shook their hand and I said, thanks for the battle. And you probably only realise, I would say, later when we're getting the cup, when Mihaw's getting the trophy, then you're like, okay, we've done something that's a little bit different, and we've created a bit of history. So it takes a little while for it to settle in. Definitely not initially, that's for sure.
How does that sit with you, being the first European team to ever win a Leinster championship?
To be honest with you, it's probably a little bit more relief than, I'd say, than joy, because people might not know this, but for a good few years we were dominating in the football in Europe, and we were going back, and we had a few very close games. And then the first year that another team went back from Europe, they won it. So we lost that opportunity to make history there, and everyone wants to be the first. Of course, that doesn't mean we don't want to go back ever and win a game at home, but that's kind of been taken away from us. So you kind of have a little bit of relief, say, okay, we go over the line in the hurling, and especially we came back a few years, and I don't think I'd be out of place saying we underperformed, and we kind of let ourselves down in a couple of games back home. So other than that, it was nice to come back and show that we belonged a little bit, to come back and play against the team. And I mentioned it to a few other people, we played 4 15-a-side games this year. Most clubs in Ireland play probably 15 to 20 matches if they make it as far as we did. So that match practice, not having that consistency, playing every couple of weeks or every 3 weeks in a full-size game, it makes a massive difference when you're at home. Then you don't know how it is to be under pressure. The pitch, we play on AstroTurf in Europe, so playing in a wet pitch in November is also something that you need to get used to. So there was a lot of things, I would say, that we didn't have perfectly, and we still managed to get over the line. So that's probably what makes me more proud, is that we don't have the perfect preparation. We don't have the perfect training scenarios over here. We don't train together all the time. We can't play friendlies, this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of things that I think if we had them, I think the squad would be, I think we'd be a lot stronger in terms of match practice.
Obviously a big change, I imagine, when you see Pearse Park, and even in the semi-final too, when you played the Meath champions Rathmoylan, just even the size of that pitch there, it's not something you're used to.
No, and it's the conditions as well, we play most of our games in Maastricht, which is in the south of the Netherlands, and I don't think we've ever played a European semi-final and final where it rained down there. Or if we did, it didn't rain heavy. The weather's always pretty good. It's never too windy. The sun is always shining, and yeah, the conditions are just completely different. And then you go and you're in Ashburn, and it's wind and it's rain. And and it's soft ground, which takes a little bit more out of the legs as well. So yeah, there's a few different things to get used to. But in saying that, we have lads playing with us who played at a pretty decent level in Ireland, and it's not like we never did it before either. That it's not like we're complete ducks out of water. We've done it in the past, so maybe it takes 15-20 minutes to kind of get used to the conditions, but then we find our stride.
Obviously, challenges with that. You mentioned obviously 9-a-side games. I know I was hearing in different interviews you train on a soccer pitch on a Tuesday, you train on a rugby pitch as well on a Saturday.
Yeah, and that's a small thing, but it makes a massive difference. Like myself as a free taker, you can't really take frees, you can't practice frees because the distance is totally different. You can't, if you're playing, like you say, in tournaments, it's 9-a-side, so it's very open. And it's good to get the eye in, and it's nice to play against other teams around Europe, but it doesn't prepare you for 15-a-side match in Ireland, as well as obviously playing 15-a-side games. So with these kind of things, like I mentioned already, with these kind of obstacles, to still be able to go back and pull it off that's probably the thing that you're most proud of.
It's obviously unique then in one sense. I know your manager was a player manager, one of your selectors was a player as well. It's a player-led club, really.
It's completely player-led, yeah. And we were lucky that one of the lads who used to play with us, Shane, he came on board for the last few months just to help the lads with organising off-the-field stuff, talking with the referees, handling slips, all the small things that kind of make maybe a player manager's job a bit harder. That he was able to take a little bit of pressure off Dara and allow Dara to just go and hurl. But yeah, it's the same with the football. For years we had it was player led, and look, that has its challenges as well. I can imagine, as one of the lads who's running it as a coach, being on the pitch, it's hard to see the overview. It's hard to see maybe things that are happening. But to be fair to Dara, he's very open. Like if you're on the pitch and you say something to him, he's taking it on board. He's hearing your point of view, and doing all the organising beforehand makes it that much easier. When we're playing a game, he already has a plan of maybe substitutions that are already going to be made. If this happens, we do this. Yeah, and I have to really commend him this year. He put a lot of effort into it, and that effort paid off. We had tactics coming home for the first time. We had properly discussed, like we had a puck out routine, not only for offensively but defensively. And in years gone by, most of the effort was going into actually getting home, organising, the booking the hotels, making sure everyone had a way to the game, food after, this kind of stuff. But this was the first year where Dara had that little bit of help on the side that he could just focus on making sure that we performed well, and we had a system.
How special was it to get into the Leinster Special Junior Hurling Championship? Obviously, you had to beat Copenhagen and Luxembourg and win the European Championship to get in. But obviously, this competition took place, and then it didn't take place for a few years, and then it came back this year.
Yeah, look, I think what I will say is that the standard in Europe is going up every single year. Between, like you mentioned, Lux and the Viking Gales. This year, we're getting tougher and tougher games, which is what you need, and you need tough matches amongst each other, and that's only going to raise the standards as well. And yeah, like to get into to be able to go back at all to play in Ireland, we're quite fortunate, and I think it says a lot for the championship itself that it's such exciting matches. People that watch them were saying that they were good games to watch. They kept you on the edge of your seat, and if they're entertaining on top of us winning, then I guess that's a bonus.
Where do you feel like it can go now? Obviously, it's huge to win this. Is your ambition to stay in this competition, or would you like to potentially move up to a junior hurling championship?
Well, first I should say it's not up to me to decide.
Yeah.
This is mainly just maybe an aspiration that I would have.
Yeah.
I can't speak on behalf of the club because it's not my call. It's not my decision. I'm just a player. But I don't. I think if you're gonna go up and play at the next level, you'd have to be probably doing a bigger dent into teams at the level that we're at. We had two very close matches. And I think just to say after winning it once that we should go up, I'm not so sure, and
Yeah.
especially the situation that we have over here is that everyone's expats. So some people go home, some people move on to a different part of the world, so to try and hold a squad together for 2 or 3 years, it's not easy. Lads are moving constantly, so we have a big turnover of players. So it would make it difficult to go up, because if 5 or 6 lads go away, and you don't replace them, you could be in a lot of bother next year.
Yeah, it's the thing, isn't it? And even logistically, I know for you getting over to, some of you were staying with friends, some of you were staying with hotels. Obviously, you were over for 2 games, and it's not as easy as everyone thinks. Like coming from Amsterdam to Dublin and down to Longford, and what you had to do.
No, that's it. Like, you don't think about it, like you say, in Ireland, everyone just goes to the game, and you go together, and you represent your club. But yeah, we have to look at flights. We have students, or make sure that the students are looked after, and accommodation wise, who's staying with friends, who needs a hotel, organising the bus to go to Longford. The bus was great crack on the way back, but going down, it's a bit of a spin. So, we were spoiled, I think, in previous years. Most of our matches were pretty close to Dublin, so we didn't have far to go. But it made it maybe a little bit sweeter that we did have to go to Longford to play a Longford team, and to get the win there, maybe made it a little bit sweeter.
What do you think it can do for the club now, winning the Leinster? I know you've recently formed underage teams as well.
Yeah, well, hopefully it encourages like people that have kids in Amsterdam, yeah, to bring their kids to the youth through the youth system. Because I mean, we haven't brought anyone through who played underage for Amsterdam, right? Everyone played in Ireland, and we're coming from different clubs. So I mean, to see someone come through and play for the club would be pretty amazing. And if we had a team that was fully ran that way in a few years, um, I mean, that would be, I think, from a European perspective, that would be unprecedented. So if us winning and bringing a little bit of hope that it's possible to win in Ireland does that for the youth system, then even better.
It's obviously a niche community over there, the GA community in Amsterdam. Obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of people walking through the streets who weren't aware of your achievements. But for, I suppose, you as players involved in that bubble, how would you describe the GA community that you have over there? Does Everton, I suppose, similar to you, revolve around GA over there, or what's the community like?
I think first and foremost, the club is somewhere that people can come when they move abroad, and they can make friends, or they can find a social group for people that are interested in similar things. It's not all coming to train in the middle of October on a Tuesday night when it's raining cats and dogs. It's not all about that either. It is a place where people can come make friends, and celebrate these kind of moments together. You don't have to be playing to be involved in the club or the community. And I'd say that's probably the essence of it, right? Like the Irish community abroad, that core group that you can rely on. Sometimes people need an apartment, they'll throw it into the group. Someone else will help them out. Someone else looking for a job. These kind of things. Someone's moving house, or bought a house, and you need someone to help you paint. Like, these are probably things that you wouldn't think about when you live in Ireland, because it's kind of just normal, right? When you grow up with the team, you grow up with the lads that you play with. It's like, it's almost automatic. But over here, you don't know them. You don't know the people. You didn't grow up with them. But then it kind of always ends up in the same direction, where you have this core community of people that, like, yeah, they're just there for each other. And everyone helps each other out. And these moments where, like, we won, but these moments are for everyone. We'll go to Mulligan's now this Saturday, and everybody will be in there. Everyone will be having a crack, and when this is happening, the vibe is kind of how it should be when GA teams win.
I was listening to one of your interviews when you came back to Mulligan's last Sunday night, and the game being played on Clover and all the different TV screens. I guess that's not something you could have really predicted that would happen in somewhere like Amsterdam.
Definitely not. No, and yeah, it was pretty class to see. Not only in the final but in the semi-final, people in there watching it on the screen up the back. And for the final, they had to even put it on in the main bar because there wasn't enough room in the back for people to watch it. So, I mean, it's great that there is a platform like Clubber, where they can put on these kind of matches because otherwise, no one would have seen these kind of games. Like our game would have been just tales, people telling about their experience being there or reporting on it, but nobody would have been able to physically watch it and share that moment as well because, like, we've been there where we've watched maybe hurling matches, intercounty games on the television, and you get that moment where, let's say, Galway won a match and everyone's happy, everyone's celebrating, but they got that moment for us, which is pretty cool.
Is this something now you can look back on, or do you think it's something to be remembered, or how will it be now over the next few months for you?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I can't. It's a hard question to answer. I think in time, it will be something that we all look back on, and we'll probably have a reunion for the lads who are part of the squad and try and make something like that happen maybe every few years. But um, you'd be amazed how quickly life just continues to go on, and time doesn't stop just because you win a match. Time keeps going, and I think we'll reflect a little bit this Saturday. We'll talk about the game. We'll probably enjoy talking about it. And then I'd say probably next year will be the next time we really think about if we're in the same situation where we get to come back and play again. That'll probably be something that we'll be talking about then, what we learned from it. But I think for now, I think the most important thing is that we enjoy it because, as you mentioned, these moments don't happen very often. Yeah, and I think if I had one thing to say, like, personally, I want to take the moment when we're there together in Mulligan's with the squad, like looking around and soaking it in, because 100% you won't be in a room with all of them lads ever again. That'll never happen. One or two lads will go away for sure. So I think that's the best thing to do when we get the chance, is just to celebrate with each other, have a few pints, enjoy it, soak it up, and then you never know, we might do it again.
The standard, I think you said you were over there for 6 years, but the standard from when you went over then to now, it's obviously developed and evolved quite a bit. And I suppose have you seen that standard develop?
100%. I'd say even in the last 2 to 3 years, and even this year from last year, shows the importance, like that. You get a few lads who've played at a decent level at home, inject that into the squad, and we didn't lose a whole pile last year. We lost a couple of boys, but like we added to the squad again this year, and I mean that makes a massive difference in the standard. And of course, when you have teams like Viking Gales who didn't play in Europe before, they've got a few decent hurlers as well. So when you have other teams coming into the competition and they're making us play better or making us take it more seriously, then that's going to raise our standard as well. And that's what you need. You can always have like really good hurlers, but you do need someone pushing you to do the extra bit. Like I would definitely say, like, where we are now in terms of squad compared to 3 years ago, you'd be lucky to get 7 or 8 lads down training regularly. But like this year, from the European games onward, we had 13, 14 lads minimum training all the time. And yeah, that's something that I didn't see for the whole time that I've been hurling over here.
And Graham, I presume the club, it's obviously quite welcoming, and it's always, I suppose, looking for anyone who's moving over there to join up and be part of this club.
Yeah, 100%. As I mentioned already, like it's a social club. as well, right? It's not just the competitive side is there for people who want it, but like for other people who just want to make friends, or maybe they're moving over on their own, they're a little bit unsure. It's for them. It's for them people as much as it is for the people who go out in the field and play. And I would say that's for anyone that's coming to Amsterdam, even if you're not going to play, like if you want a break from GA, maybe you played your whole life and you just okay, I want a couple of years to just travel and enjoy myself. There's no pressure for that too. Just come and meet a few people. We have plenty of social events throughout the year. And then if you want to dip your toe in a bit of hurling or football, that's always possible as well. But there's definitely no pressure on anyone who comes over here that, if you're playing the guy, you have to take it seriously. No, there's people who come and go, and they come when they want to have a bit of crack, and that's the main thing. They're a part of the community as well.
Grahame, just on your season, then obviously you have the European Championships. Do you stay going for most of the year, or when does it usually finish up and start up?
It's dependent on the calendar, but normally around February, March, the nine-a-side tournaments start, and they keep running most of the year. And towards the tail end of the year, you do have to get a little bit, let's say, picky with the tournaments that you're going to, because, like, for example, there was a tournament between, like, when we played the Europeans versus coming home, but we wanted to prioritize getting ready to come home. So, you have to sometimes skip a few to make sure that you're ready to come home and play. And you don't want to risk anyone getting injured 3 weeks or 4 weeks before coming back to Ireland. And yeah, it's hard for lads on the weekend if they're going to make sure that they're ready to go back to Ireland a few weekends after. They want to prioritise any travelling that they're going to do. So it does depend, but it's pretty much the usual year that you would have in Ireland.
Obviously, I'd say when you see in your own club, Meath Aircourt, end the 28-year wait, obviously, I'm delighted. I'm sure you were for them, but obviously, you probably initially think of, from a personal point of view, what could have been if you were still in Galway.
You would a little bit. You'd more like be raging that you weren't part of it. You wouldn't think about like yourself. You just be like, oh, it would be class to be there, when everyone was celebrating in full time. And I mean, when I was there, we lost the county final against Ballinderry, and the lads have been knocking on the door ever since. I think there's only been a few years where they weren't in semi-finals and county finals. So like, you're really just delighted for the lads that you grew up with playing hurling with. I think they got what they deserved after a lot of years of pain and missing out and losing finals, semi-finals. To be honest with you, when the first thing I did, your man from RTE was asking me a couple of questions, but the first thing I asked him, because he told me he was from St. Thomas's, I asked him, do you know how we got on against Turin? And then I found out then about 2 minutes after from my outlet that we'd lost. So I was happy, and then I was sad because the lads had lost, and that was a bit of a kick in the teeth, but you can't have it all, I guess.
Yeah, and as you mentioned there, they've been knocking for years on the door. Even the scenes of ending that 28 years of hurt was what a lot of even Meath Aircourt supporters speaking on Galway FM in the lead up to the game were referencing that.
Yeah, I mean, you're watching that, the flares are getting lit, the lads are up on people's shoulders, you're looking at that, and you just love to be there, if you're involved or not, you just love to be a part of that and to congratulate people. And that's what you miss more than, of course, if you were playing and you were a part of it, that would be special too. But just to not be there and to be able to celebrate with the lads, look them in the eye and say well done, and share that with them, that was tough. But as I mentioned earlier, that lit a fire in me for the game against Rathmel Island. I was ready to go. That got me going for that, and that put me in a mood where I just wanted to get out on the pitch and play.
Was it hard to follow them throughout the year in the Galway Championship for yourself?
Not really. You keep up with results and stuff like that. And I went back for a wedding there in August. One of the lads was getting married, so I was asking a couple of questions, how they're getting on, how they're fixed. And I heard with Niall, the manager, for a good few years, and there's no more shrewd operator than Niall. Very organised guy, very clever guy. So I knew that things would, definitely from a operational perspective, things would be smooth. So it wasn't that hard to follow them, no. And to be honest with you, in the last few years, the nice thing is that they're consistently, like I mentioned, in semi-finals, finals. So around September, October is the time to start cluing into it and following it properly, and knowing how the lads are getting on.
I think as well, even with them winning the championship, there's a sense of relief too that they'll obviously be a Premier Intermediate team, obviously with the structure changing for 2026.
Yeah, I think relief is a good word because, like you mentioned, it was I think it was 1997 was the last time. It's a long time without winning a trophy at home, and getting over the line. And yeah, a lot of people have come and gone, like myself, been a part of the club, left. So in that space of time, I think everyone was really relieved. And yeah, like we talked about the scenes afterwards. I think they really showed that, and obviously the celebrations that followed looked pretty epic.
They sure did, yeah. Just unfortunately didn't go their way against Turin at the weekend. So is it Amsterdam for the next while, or could we potentially see it with Mealy Gaircourt at some stage down the line?
To be honest, it's hard to see. It's hard to see me going back at the moment. I've been working over here. I love what I do, especially on the working side, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's hard to pull me away from what I'm doing now because I love the company that I'm working with, and I love the people that I work with. And I'd say unless something drastic happens, a couple of years ago it might have been different. 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching games, getting the itch, to go back. But after the game settles, you start to think about more realistic things. Your life, work, where you're living, this kind of stuff. So I'd say for now, Amsterdam has got me hooked. But you never know. You never say never.
Yeah. Well, Grahame, great stuff, and congratulations again on the achievement with Amsterdam GA Club, and thanks very much for your time.
No worries. Thanks, Paul.